joining me again here today for episode number 2 in our Data Analyst interview prep series. So what we're going to be going through today is we are going to go through basically similar, but this time we're going to go into more interview-specific based questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to start again, going to go upload from computer, going to put in your resume into ChatGPT. So basically the purpose of this series is to utilize AI to get you interview ready for your interview. So what I'm going to ask here on ChatGPT now is I'm going to get ChatGPT to ask me some data analyst interview based questions. So what I'm going to say is based on my resume and experience, ask me some interview-based questions for a data analyst or business intelligence analyst position. All right, so we're going to get a few general questions here next. Okay, so you can do this for any type of role. So if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're in customer success or a service-based role, you can still very much use the same concept here. It's not just for data analysts, but it's just kind of just gives you a bit of an idea as to sort of what questions you might be asked when you go and show up to a job interview based on what you conveyed in your resume. So the first general question here is, can you walk us through a project where you use data analytics to solve a business problem? What tools and methodologies did you use? Okay, so straight away, you want to give an example here. So for this, you might say, I used data analytics at the last company to find out where there were some inconsistencies with sales. I implemented deal conversion rates to analyze what was happening with sales, where when deal conversion rates were dropping, when they were increasing throughout an annual period over the last 10, 20 years to forecast further growth within the business. You could talk about another problem with, say, the business was having trouble in a particular area with holding too much inventory, and you used data analytics to look at all the stock and inventory levels and how much inventory in each particular product was getting moved each particular month to pull back how much of those products were getting ordered, so the order quantity wasn't as high, to ensure greater profit margin and a decrease in operating expenses for products that the business couldn't move. Next question is, how do you ensure the accuracy and reliability of the data you work with? Share an example of when you encountered data inconsistencies and how you handled them. So ensuring the accuracy and the reliability of the data you work with is sort of based around where you get the data from, what is your data source. So for a business that has CRM systems, it's going to be the internal based data sets are going to be better than what they are if you're just kind of going off a loose spreadsheet or old manual based records of sales and, say, inventory, for example. So to keep accuracy and reliability of the data you work with, you ideally want to have a SQL server and a CRM system that connect in together. So ideally, in your perfect world, you would want Microsoft Dynamics 365 linked with Microsoft SQL Server and linked with Microsoft Power BI. So it's all streamlined into one sort of area there. So that's sort of internal for accuracy and reliability. And then, secondly, from, I guess, your end, from accuracy and reliability point of view, you want to ensure that you're really utilizing Power Query to clean that data set, automate that cleaning phase so that there's less margin for error throughout the cleaning phase, so that you're not getting that human error. So that's sort of just two ways that you can sort of handle it there. When working with external based data, um, you've got to look at the sort of the organizations that you're retrieving that data from. What sort of credibility do they have? Are they government departments? Are they just sort of a smaller sort of businesses that are putting out data, or is it just a smaller business that is retrieving data from different places and putting something together and selling that data? You sort of have to look into all those sort of factors as well, and that sort of comes back into the data governance part piece. And then the next question is, describe a time when you had to communicate complex analytical results to a non-technical audience. How did you ensure they understood your findings? So with this, you might have had say you're a data analyst and you worked in a blue collar based area, for example, or somewhere that, where the audience weren't really a very mathematical based audience. And I think the key thing is here is to focus on telling a story, because what a lot of people can connect with is a story from the data, sort of getting away from the mathematics and the statistics element of data analytics and focusing more on the story or the message that you're trying to convey through the data is the best way with connecting with these particular stakeholders, and just trying to keep things a little bit more basic and simple, and being clear and concise, and not talking for too long, just focusing on the key elements that you want to present and generating a bit of a story around that. And then also utilizing some questions to engage your audience, to make sure that they are listening to you. Okay, and then we go down in here now next into more technical based questions. So explain your process for creating a Power BI dashboard, and you describe a specific dashboard you designed and how it added value. So for this one here, so you want to go through the whole step of Power BI dashboard. So where did you get the data from? I extracted it from which external database online, or did I get the data from the SQL server, or did I get one of each, and then some from a CRM system as well? Integrated it into Power BI, and then I used a schema to connect different variables or similar variables to one another based on those three data sets to form a relationship. I used Power Query to clean the data in Power BI and create new measures in the forms of sales revenue. I also used DAX to sum certain variables and with other variables to get a calculation that I could convey in the dashboard. And then, you talk about how within the dashboard in Power Query, in Power BI, you put together whatever points it was. I put sales with the revenue from the business, in addition to future sort of opportunities that haven't been seized yet. How much of the market does the business currently have in the particular area that it's providing the service? This is sort of pretty broad information I'm giving here. Everyone's going to have different examples based on what industry they've worked in, but it's sort of the way that I would advise to go after it. Number two, what is your experience with the ETL processes? How have you used tools like Power Query, Python, or SQL to clean and prepare data? So I would probably focus here on Power Query. If you're on more of a junior to mid-level data analyst role, if you're on a higher level a data analyst role, then you might talk about Python and using web scraping and other types of ways to extract the data, and then how you've cleaned it and in what library that was, and moved it across. But for most of us, you talk about how you use Power Query to clean up the data set and remove columns, use some DAX formulas to calculate new measures, and build in from there through the extract, transform, and load process. So mentioned working with DAX and star schemas. So that's basically your schemas in Power BI. What I talked about before with all the different connections for star. And then, what I said before in regards to DAX, that's just using those calculated measures to use variables, or using a variable and forming a calculation within that variable or multiple different variables to get a new calculation to see what that measure is based on a range of different data sets. And then it talks about financial forecasting. So what I would do there in Power BI for financial forecasting is I would use the forecast button, which gives a 95% confidence interval, and I would use that to for financial forecasting for future revenue within the business in Power BI. Describe your experience with geospatial data. Yeah, so with that one there, it's a bit more specific to my experience. So basically, that's just using QGIS and extracting it out into an attributes table, putting it into Excel, and then cleaning it with Power Query, or using more of a standard sort of find and replace and formulas to clean the data set. Okay, then you've got your scenario-based questions. So you basically just want to sort of work through that as best as you can. And then from there, you go into the domain-specific questions. Okay, so that's more based around the work that I've previously done there based on my resume. Okay. All right, so I'll leave it there for today, guys, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea as to how to prep for an interview, just using AI, just working through the questions. As a data analyst, that's how I would tackle it. Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed this, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.